So I want to thank Marilyn Daly Blair, Bonnie Kadich, Heidi Miller, and I don't see Alvin Scott in the room, but he did a lot of the setting up. And I especially want to thank my director, producer of this whole thing. He's put this slideshow together, Terry Dempsey. Thank you, Terry. I have to say this is probably the friendliest audience I've ever had. I mean, like I look, over all of you, and there's so many good friends. And the title of the speech today is I am because you are. And it is so true. One, you take away my students. I'm not much of a math teacher, and I do have students here. In fact, my son Daniel took my Algebra 3-4 class. My son Dak, in the back, he did the class pad class with me. So it is wonderful to be here, and thank you for coming. So I will be following this. My challenge today is keeping it at about 45 minutes so that I do have time to answer questions. So I do want to talk just a moment about the ancient South African, not South Africa, but it was southern part of Africa, where they had a Bantu philosophy. One of the key words in Bantu is Ubuntu. And basically, you notice that Terry has looked this up about humanity is caught up, so anything any one of us does is because of so many people who have helped put us there. And I just noticed Mary Jean Sandel is at the back of the room. And she was the principal of SK Online. And when I had moved from South Salem High, she was the person behind building that. She made it happen just with sheer force of will. Thank you, Mary Jean, for being here. And Ubuntu, I am because of you. And that will be the case in so many people. I want to introduce my family now. My sons came from, Dak comes from the shortest distance in Vancouver, and Brian, Michael, and Dan all from California. But first I want to introduce my wife, Mona. If you stand a moment. We've been married for 37 years, and she was a big reason that one of my comebacks happened. So today I'm going to be talking about some negativity in my life. All of us have bad things that happen at one time or another. But how do you deal with it? How do you come back from it? So my family was a large part of it. So Brian, where are you sitting right now? Okay, there he is. And he was my first son, so that's when I became a father. So I am because you are. And Mike, my second son, who's been helping set up all this. And let me get a drink of water while we're going. Oh, and Mary Jean, you notice I'm holding the microphone close to my mouth. We went to a wedding the other day, and while they were doing their vows, they were pointing at it. So, I got through Brian, Michael. Now Dan has a special event in his life. He just got engaged to Leslie. Would you two of you stand up and say, yeah, go ahead, stand up. And I mentioned my son Dak, who's filming this today. And Dak helped me put all of this together. My brother Larry, who is a veteran and an engineer with Lockheed. Larry, would you stand? And we grew up, we stopped fighting physically. And then we became very good friends, but I'll mention him a little bit later. And my sister Sally, who holds our family together with her husband Jim. And Jim was a choir teacher, and he developed the choir program. So thank you for being here, Sally. And my nephew Jeremy is back there. Jeremy is a physical therapist and is the outpatient rehabilitation director of Queens Hospital in Honolulu. Thank you, Jeremy. So, what brought me here? What happened that brought me here? In 2017, I was called in by the dean of the online school at Chemeketa, and she told me that all of the full-time professors have priority over the adjunct, and I was an adjunct professor. I'd been teaching Math 111 for probably 12 years. You said they want your classes, they have priority, they get your classes. So that was, I had already been teaching 58 years. I wanted to go to 60. So Mike, who's a math teacher, we kind of like to round off things, don't we? So 60 would have been a nice number to end it at, but not getting there. That was just not teaching. Took something away from me. So what did I do? I thought, okay, next thing, go run for the school board. You've got a master's degree in education, you've taught all these years, go ahead and run for the school board. And Chuck Lee, who was the chair of the school board, had encouraged me, not knowing, Chuck did not know I was in District 1. And the power people, there are always power people, political people that tend to run things. And they were saying, we want a Hispanic to run for that office. And I agree with them. We needed the diversity. But the thing that bothered me is they wouldn't even hold a vetting meeting with me. So I wanted to meet with the president of the teachers union. Never got it once. It was always, well, we'll do it a little, I'm busy this week, until the filing deadline. So my son Michael was going through a divorce, and that was very troubling for a father who had been through a divorce. So these things are building. During that time, Mona, who raises goats, was very invested in her goat raising. I was kind of forgetting she had a husband. And this is a political statement, I guess, but the inauguration in 2017, January 20th, was a bad day for me. And I was kind of at the bottom, and I thought, I've got to do something about it. So I called my doctor and got an appointment, went to see him, and said, I'm in a depression. And he said, okay, we have drugs that'll take care of that. But I know that's not the solution, that's just a Band-Aid. So as soon as I left the office, I said, okay, what am I going to do? What's my plan here? And I headed directly to this building. And they took me around to all the options. I taught computer classes. We have a wood shop at home. They have a beautiful wood shop here. They offered lapidary, lots of other things. But I wasn't sold on anything until I got to the writers group here. It was then called Write Your Life Story. And I sat in on the class and I said, these people write so much better than I'll ever be able to write. But they invited me back, and the next week I returned with the story on the maelstrom. I felt like I was in a vortex. that was pulling me down. And so I said, okay, I'll write about that. And it was accepted. They were very nice about it. And so the next week I said, okay, I'm going to go to my experience at the Olympic Games, because that was a kind of a highlight for my life. So I wrote about being the announcer at the Olympics in '84 and '96. And then it started happening. A few months later, I wrote the story about my two mentors. One of them, Peter Dalen, had died in 2014. And he was, and you'll hear later how pivotal he was in my life. He's a member of the International Swimming Hall of Fame, 5-time Olympic coach. But these, at the same time, Gambrell and, or Peter Dalen and Don Gambrell came into my life. And they were encouraging me as a young swimming coach. So Don Gambrell, I sent him the copy of my mentors, and he called me just a few nights later, and he said, "Burt, would you write my biography?" I guess 3 others had tried before that. One of them died, unfortunately, and I got his notes. But I started writing that book, and my life changed. I took the writing class at Chemeketa knowing that every story I would write was going to be part of the book. And the writers group was encouraging me all the way along and helping me. It took 5 years, but the book came out right at the beginning of this year, 2023. So they told me, my publishers were Swimming World Magazine and the International Swimming Hall of Fame. I couldn't have done better for publishers, except they told me, we will only publish it in an ebook. It's too expensive to do a printed copy. So I told Gambrell they're going to do it electronically, an ebook. Gambrell's response is, "What's an ebook?" And I had to explain it, and he immediately said, "I want to be able to hold it in my hand." So I got to, I'm going to introduce in a little bit Bill Chillingsworth. One of his good friends, Louis Caron, was the president and CEO of Western Printers and Graphic Designers. So I called Louis and I said, "What am I going to do?" And Louis looked at a lot of the people that were possibilities and got a guy in Pasadena whose kids swim for the Rose Bowl Swim Club. And so he was interested, J.J. Gish. And it was another case of I am because you are. And it wouldn't happen if that series of events didn't come. So I started writing the book. I got to interview many of the greats in the sport of swimming. It was a thrill for me to call Michael Wendon, who was Olympic champion in 1956. He's in Australia. Cost me about $300 for that phone conversation. But it was very, and he was into, what was that, Dan? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Dan's admonishing me, talk to my sons before I do anything technical. So it took a lot of time to research. It was arduous but fun at the same time. It was meaningful. I was always writing for one person. I was writing for Don Gambrell. And when we finally got the book to him, now his wife had died the year before, and so the book was dedicated to her. And that meant a lot to him. But for well over a year, I couldn't talk with Don without him crying. So, but when he got the book, 3 times that week he called me, he was crying every time. He said, this is way, way beyond my expectations. So the book became a reality, and we have copies of it out there. And all the writers group has it. So we've got the book in, and we're going to, it was out of that the discovery that Don Gambrell had gone to an LA City school. And as I was doing research, I saw there's a Hall of Fame for the Los Angeles Unified School District. And so I nominated Don Gambrell, and one of my very good friends was a professional baseball pitcher, pitched in the World Series, Barry Lattman. So I nominated both of them for the Los Angeles Unified School District. I found out they had an induction ceremony, and I went to it and discovered that now LA has their Hall of Fame, covers all areas. They have business, they have philanthropy. And recently, my wife Mona got into it because of her raising of myotonic goats and all the awards she's won. So I just started going through all the people I knew in Los Angeles, and I started submitting it to Bob Collins, the director. And then one morning he called me up, he said, Burt, all these people that you're getting from me, I should have had in all the time. Thank you. He said, there's just one thing you forgot. How come you didn't nominate yourself? So I said, Bob, you shouldn't be nominating yourself for it. He said, okay, I'll nominate you. So now Bona and I are one of the few couples that are in the Los Angeles Unified Hall of Fame. That's published. If you want to look at it, it's not too hard. You just type in Hall of Fame, no spaces, LAUSD, Los Angeles Unified School District.net. So I don't know if we have that up there. Write to me. I think I have most of your emails. So I was so thrilled at being nominated for it, and I was down in Los Angeles, and I drove over to San Marino High School, and I asked them, do you have a Hall of Fame yet? I had been there 30 years before. Principal said, no Hall of Fame. I said, why not? Why don't you have a Hall of Fame? And his answer was, nobody has started it. I said, I will. And so I immediately went out and had cards printed that called me the pending director, because I was going to the class of '73 reunion, and I wanted to be able to pass the cards out. So it is up and running. We're going to have our first induction on June 27th next year. And we've got some pretty powerful people that are going to be going into it from all different fields. So I'm down to the end. Okay, now, one of the big elements in my talk today was Nelson Mandela. And when he, we got the quote up there, do not judge me by my successes. Judge me by how many times I fell and got back up. That's important for all of us, I think. When you have something happen, Liz just had a fall, she's gotten back up. That was a physical one. So what happened to me, and I want to, at this point, mention in this room are so many who have made me what I am today. And I did mention already Mary Jane. David Hopper, I think, is here in the back. And we became friends at the Scoot and Boot and Brew last Friday night. And we'll stay friends now. Thank you, David. So Now, Larry Philbrick, I don't know if he's in, he does the ukulele, he may be there right now. But I have today Mike and Sharon Day, Martha and Bill Howell. Our book club has been running, where we 18 years now, Mike? And it is a loving, caring group that lifts all of us. Thank you. I am because of you. And from the Cox Center, I see Kelly is here, and we, a lot of people that are just so friendly, and it makes a big difference going in there to work out and being able. Oh, Hannah is back there. Hannah Scar, who's the pool director. Thank you for coming, Hannah. And yes, you helped make me. Thank you. So, my writers group. We meet every week, and we write a lot of personal stuff, and have the understanding that we say what we say in the writers group stays within the writers group. But now, my book wasn't meant to stay within the writers group. So, oh, Tracy Fitch is here, and my dentist and swimming partner, Joni, we swam together 25 years. And they're both here, and they've been so critical in my life. And I think I got all that. Now I want to introduce Bill Shillingsworth. Now his book, I think, there it is, The Hunger and the Hunted is out. He's sold over 15,000 copies already. And he is going to meet with the writers group following this meeting and tell them about the book, and then they're going to share some of the other ones who have written a book. Like Ron here is saying, got 5 books out already. And Michelle is here, right, Michelle? I think she's here. She's got 7 books. There you are. So they're going to share some of their books. So Bill is now, he left being the CEO of CBRE, which, as you noted on the slide, is a Fortune 200 company, and is now running, he's got over 700 Domino pizzas in China going. As we know, it's the most populous country in the world. So what a future Bill has. And his lady friend Kathy is with him also. Thank you for coming. And certainly as one of my swimmers, you did make me. So thank you. Okay.
Very angry, Burt.
So I certainly was feeling down as I searched for the 50+ center and found a meaning here. But one of the really difficult points, I don't know, I'm hearing the mic cut out a little bit. I hope you can hear me without a microphone if I have to. So in 1950, my mother sat me down and said, Burt, your father is leaving the family. You are now man of the family. I was just about to be 11 years old. I had no idea what it meant. I thought it meant I had to boss my brother and sister around. So let me, Larry and Sally, let me publicly apologize to you for when you're actually in charge of somebody, when you're the man of the family, you show a lot of love and caring. I just simply did not know how to do that, so you have my deepest apology. So what my mother did was look up the Jewish Big Brothers, and there's a camp in the La Crescenta area called Camp Max Strauss. Now, at Camp Bagshaw, there were about 100, and there were only boys then. They now expanded it to girls too. So with 100 people there, they were divided into tribes of East, West, South, North, and I was in the East tribe, and my counselor was Milt Davis. And Milt every night would sing a song, and I'm going to ask Mike and Sharon, you'll do the hand gestures with him, but if you can sing the song that Milt would sing to us every night, you want to come up and do it? Here's the microphone.
Yeah, Sharon knows this thing. I do not at all. And Sharon does. She tried to sing me the melody. Sharon, trust me, she does not sing. And so I could not pick out the melody. And so I borrowed the melody from an old black and white television show. And here we go. I'm just going to do a couple of things. And Sharon's going to do the choreography. Okay. There was a desperado from the wild and woolly West who went into Chicago just to give the West a rest, confusing all the people by the way that he was dressed. And everywhere he went, he gave his war whoop. Oh, the big bad man was a desperado from Cripple Creek Day down in Colorado, and he walked around like a big tornado, and everywhere he went, he gave his war whoop. Verse 2. He went to Coney Island just to take in all the sights. He saw the hoochie coochies and the girls all dressed in tights. He went into a movie and he shot out all the lights. And everywhere he went, he gave his war whoop. Done!
Mike is appearing this next Sunday. You're not going to sing that song though. He's appearing at Gilgamesh, 2 o'clock, and advises you to get there early. He thinks it'll be a pretty decent crowd. And Mike does appearances all over, so I thank you so much. And you did it better than Milt Davis. But you can't match Milt on the football field. Milt Davis, and he was a larger-than-life figure, and he did a lot, I guess, to replace my father in a 2-week period. And he was a pro football player. What he did that was very, very significant for me. The camp had a swimming for all the campers. I do not know if Milt saw me swim or just put me in there, but he put me in the 50 free, and that's down and back. I had no idea how to start at the beginning of the race. I don't remember if I could learn how to dive in ahead of time or stepped into the pool. I didn't know how to turn, I didn't know how to finish the race. So I just went as fast as I thought I could, didn't know what was happening, got to the finish, I looked to the side, nobody was there, and I thought, they've already finished and got out of the pool. This was my actual thought. I was so slow that they were already out and dressed already. And then they started coming in after me. I had won the race. And so my cabin mates were all congratulating me, and Milt calls me over and he says to me, "You are going to be the anchor on our free relay." What's an anchor? So that just meant I was going to be last to swim. And our relay team, we were behind the other 3 teams. I can't tell you by how much. And I got in and I could see bubbles from their feet kicking. And I caught them. And for the first time in my life, I actually felt success on something. That was a big deal. And that year I was named the Guard of the East. Each tribe got to have, and it was burned in wood, and with an arrowhead was up there. And when Larry and I were there, what, 15 years ago maybe, they still had that plaque on the wall. I can find my name on it. I don't know if it's there today. Now the story saddens some with Milt. Milt, when he played for the Baltimore Colts, he was all pro in his first year. He led the NFL in interceptions. He was a great player, but he was one of the few black players at the time. And they wouldn't let him stay with the team in the hotels. They would not let him eat with the team. By the time he was in it 4 years, he said, I can't take this any longer. And he left the NFL disgusted at the behavior that he had to endure. And now it ended up where my mother worked with him at Los Angeles City College. He had gotten his PhD and was a professor. She was a secretary, but she really liked Milt and knew of our relationship. So she moved up here in what, 2002 or 2000, Sally? Mom moved up here. But around 2000. And about 2006 or so, a newspaper article came out that Milt Davis was here in Oregon and Elmira raising llamas. We were raising llamas at the time. So the newspaper article had the name of the writer on it. So I called the newspaper and got a hold of the writer and said, can you ask Milt if you will let me come and see him? I wanted to tell him that he had made my life. I mean, all my swimming I attributed to him, and then what happened after that. So the writer called me back and said, Milt will not see you. And that was very sad to me. And I think he died an embittered man, and I never got to tell him how wonderful and what he had done in my life to create a life. So I started going through all these swimming events in hometown. Then I was swimming in LA City summer competition. The high school did not have a swimming team. So I went to the football coach who owned a swim school, and I said, can we use your pool? And I got a group of friends that I knew from swimming at the high school. I asked my French teacher, who knew nothing about swimming, will you be the coach of the team? And he said, well, if I can just sit there and watch you guys, that's fine. So we started the high school swimming team. And that led me to, when I went to Occidental College, I went out for swimming. My career, the best swimmer on the team was our distance swimmer, and he had been in a bicycle accident. And so I had to I felt like it was my responsibility to fill in for Chip Post. And I started winning conference and breaking records there. In 1961, I represented the United States at the Maccabea Games, where I was on the 800-meter free relay, and I led it off, and my time, I think, was ranked 20th in the world that year. So I was often swimming, but that I felt, okay, I'm 22 now. Swimmers didn't go on beyond college in those days. Now they do. Now there's professional swimming. But I ended up going to Brazil in 1965. I was there as a school-to-school math teacher to the American School of Recife, Brazil. And somebody who was on the staff at the high school asked me about, what were my hobbies, something, and I told him about swimming. The next day, he's saying, they want you at the Clube Português. So, at the Clube Português was a local swim club. And so I started doing my training there, racing. I was racing against a guy whose name was Nikita. He was Nikita because he was a communist. and he hated the Americans. But over the year, we got to be very good friends. At the end, he presented me with the trophy as I left. I called him last year because when I was researching the Gamble book, I got a hold of an Olympian from Brazil who knew Nikita, and he got me in touch with him. I didn't call him. I wrote him an email. I got an email back in Portuguese and he said, "We still talk about you here." So that was in 1966. I didn't swim as well there as I'd hoped because I had another big thing going on. And a radio ham operator got a hold of me at the meet. And on the phone, all I could hear was 6 pounds, 6 ounces. And my response was in Portuguese, "Já," which means already, because he was not expected to arrive till 3 weeks later. And that's the only time that your mother was ever early on anything. So, and they know. So I thought that was the end of my swimming in Brazil. And then in the United States, they developed masters swimming in 1970. The first meet was very small, just 50 swimmers. In 1971, I was in my first masters race and beat Lance Larson, who was a world record holder. Because I was ready, he was not. I was shaved. Now, in swimming, shaving makes a big difference. Total body shaves. So I was shaved. I knew that Lance was there. He didn't even know who I was. And so I trailed him most of the way and then overtook him. So Peter Dalen, who I mentioned earlier, came over to us. He was there. Actually, Peter was swimming in that meet. And Lance looked up to him and looked up to Peter. And Lance said, "Second again." That was very meaningful to me because in the 1960 Olympics, Lance Larson in actuality won the 100-meter freestyle, but was given second place because the judge, it came down to a split decision, and the judge who had the power to call it, who was way out of position, gave it to, I think it was John Hendrickson, and he was, oh no, it was Michael Winden, and he became the Olympic champion. Lance, who was clearly on film the better swimmer, was not given that medal. So in masters swimming, when I turned 35, I went to the national championships. I knew all the records. I thought I had a chance to break them. I trained for a year, even though I was recovering from a laminectomy because I had ruptured a disc in my back. But I entered 7 events. I won all 7, broke the national records in all 7. And one of them is recorded on film. And this, I was swimming right next to a name of fame, John du Pont. Yes, the du Pont family. So when they get it up, I will describe the race as I am proceeding through it. So John had a film crew here. John's in lane 3, I'm in lane 4. So if you count, lane 1 is going to be at the bottom of the screen. I know we must have had it, we had the... So yeah, that's, you can pick it up. There's the start of the race. Count 1, 2, 3, and 4 up, and you'll see me swimming. John du Pont is in the white cap in lane 3. Next to him was a college champion, Ed Hinshaw. Now, I had been training with 2 age group teams, so I was in very, very good shape going into this meet. So this is the first turn coming up. It's 200 meters, it's 4 lengths of the pool. That was lane number 1. And Hinshaw is challenging me at this point. Now, I was doing something called negative splitting, and that means that the second half of your race is faster than the first half. So I knew I still had plenty left, and here I'm coming in at the 100 meters and turning halfway through the race right there. And I can usually, when I watch swimmers, I'd watch the leg kick. Now you notice I'm throwing more legs into it. When you get tired, you start letting your legs go because they burn off a lot of energy. So I'm just building into the race right now. This is the third and final turn of the race. Now the film crew was brought there by John du Pont. So they're trying to keep him in the film. He's just turning his third length right there. And as we're coming back, you notice they just barely have me in, John in, so they're zooming out to try and keep us both in. They will lose me for a little tiny bit here, and then they turn it back. So my time in this race was, and that's my finish, my time was 2:08:57. The old record had been 2:18, so I bettered the record. And that wasn't really my best swim in the race, but this is the one. A few weeks after, John du Pont sends me the 16mm tape of this. It's been put on DVD, and Terry got it on a thumb drive this morning. So I'm congratulating John du Pont. We had become really good friends. The du Pont story became a tragedy. John du Pont that was in 1974. In the 1990s, John had bought the Olympic team essentially. He had Foxcatcher Farms, and he had put a lot of money into, he wanted to be coach of the Olympic team, even though he was not a wrestling coach. The tragedy was, and John was doing drugs, and he went nuts. He ended up killing one of our top wrestlers, David Schultz. If you want to see the full story, it is a 2014 feature film called Foxcatcher. And in that film, they show the story of it. So it's available, I think, online pretty easily. Foxcatcher, because of Foxcatcher Farms. And John, I think, went to prison for the murder and died in prison. And so a very sad story. So, in the meantime, another tragic event in my life, my wife of 18 years decided, well, she simply fell in love with another man and divorced me. And I was down so low that I couldn't coach anymore. Bill may remember it, but it was in 1981, I just was falling apart. And for 2 years, I took a hiatus. I couldn't coach anymore. I probably wouldn't have come back if it hadn't been for Brian and Michael being mistreated by the coach that replaced me. So I went back into coaching. Things got better. The person who came to, two people, my wife Mona entered my life in 1982, and Peter Dalen started encouraging me. He said, try out for announcing the 84 Olympic Games. We'll have a tryout. And that was 1983. And we had the tryout. A few weeks later, Peter calls me and he says, Burt, I have something to tell you. Burt, we have selected you as the head announcer for the 1984 Olympic Games. You will be sitting on the competition committee, so start preparing yourself. You're going to have to make presentations to FINA and the International Olympic Committee. And at that point I started putting in, they only allowed at that time that when you introduced a race, you said the name, the lane, country, and then you didn't say anything after that. So I got them to accept play-by-play announcing at the Olympic Games, so we upped the whole field. And then I was asked to come back in 1996 when the games were held in Atlanta. So it was Peter Dalen making my life again and helping me out. So it's always been people that have propped me up, and I'm so thankful to all of them. We're going to cover, we had and have, but I'm going to cut it off here because you can find this. Rowdy Gaines, who is the ambassador of swimming now. If you watch any big swim meet on television, Rowdy is the excited color commentator that brings everything to life. And he will be announcing in the 2024 games on television in the Paris Olympics, and his last one will be Los Angeles in 2028. So I think we have it all set up, but I think you can check this one out on TV, on just connecting, doing the search for Rowdy Gaines, 84 Olympic, and you'll get his swim was, and in that, the tape, 16 Days of Glory, you actually hear me announcing him, and then when he went to the awards stand, I say the gold medalist from the United States of America, Rowdy Gaines. So when I talked to him, he said, I just showed that film to a group of 1,600 people the other night, and I pointed out that you were announcing. So my life has been a very good one, and I do have just a final reinforcement of today. And this is what I hope you'll take away, that we have downs, but we can get up from them. We have lows, and we can bring them to highs. We have valleys that can rise into peaks. Each of us becomes who we are by allowing the efforts of positive people in our lives who want to make us into something better. So I so thank you for being here. I am because you are, and thank you.